Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. And now, Tider Insider TV.
The ink had not even dried good on Amari Cooper's Nike contract, but he's already making public appearances for the brand. Here he is at the ribbon cutting of the new Nike Superstore in Midtown Village in Tuscaloosa last week. Meanwhile, his quarterback Derek Carr has been singing his praises to the California media, saying the Raiders rookie is even better than advertised. Good evening, everybody, and welcome into Tider Insider TV, presented each and every week by Buffalo Rock. Alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com, I'm Gary Harris. Once again tonight, courtesy of Buffalo Rock, ice cold Pepsi Next. You know, the great thing about Pepsi Next is, if you're looking to cut down on your sugar, love that sound. This is the way to do it, because every 12-ounce can only has 60 calories, 2/3 less sugar than regular Pepsi, but all that same great Pepsi taste. So make sure and you pick up some Pepsi Next the next time you're at your local grocery store. Well, Amari Cooper was on every national watch list, Rodney, a year ago, and he ended up winning the Biletnikoff Award as the country's best wide receiver. We're already to the point this offseason where it's time to start looking at awards watch lists for 2015. Two came out today, and they both had Alabama representation, including the Maxwell Award watch list. Derrick Henry, the only Alabama player to rep that list. The award goes to the College Football Player of the Year. Henry was the Tide's leading rusher a year ago and looks to be the main man in the backfield in 2015. Two of Alabama's defensive stars found themselves on the watch list for the Bednarik Award, given to the country's best defensive player. Senior linebacker Reggie Ragland and junior defensive lineman A'Shawn Robinson were named to the list. Both players are expected to lead a strong Alabama defense. Speaking of Reggie Ragland, we're less than a week away from SEC Media Days, and Ragland will be one of the Bama representatives in Hoover. He was chosen as part of the SEC's Beyond the Field Stories of the SEC initiative. They've selected one player from each school who has a compelling story outside the field of play. For Ragland, it's the time he spent earlier this summer at the local Veterans Administration Hospital. Well, Steve Spurrier likes to call this time of year, Rodney, the talking season. And Alabama defensive coordinator Kirby Smart certainly did some talking last week to an Atlanta radio station about a lot of different topics. You know, Alabama assistant coaches don't get to talk very much to the media, so he took advantage of it. As usual, the subject of his future came up as he spoke with 680 The Fan in Atlanta. Smart has been the Crimson Tide's defensive coordinator since 2008. He came with Nick Saban to Alabama in 2007. He interviewed for the Auburn head coaching job in 2012 before the Tigers hired Gus Malzahn. Kirby made it pretty clear, though, he's not going to jump at any job and that he's happy right here in Tuscaloosa. He's making a lot of money, too. Now, here's a little bit of what he had to say. Every one of them says, don't just jump at the first one, talking about jobs. If you get the wrong one, it will be the last one. Rodney, you know, he has done his time as a defensive coordinator. Do you think after this season that Alabama might be in the market for a defensive coordinator? Do you think the time might be right for Kirby Smart to make a move?
Well, I mean, you never know. I mean, really, he's still young. I don't think he's hit 40 yet.
He hasn't.
You know, so he's extremely young. So I don't think that, you know, like he said, I don't expect him to just jump at anything. If the right opportunity comes along, I certainly would expect him to take advantage of it. But again, it would have to be the right opportunity. You never really want to get on, you know, in a bad situation.
As I said, Alabama assistants don't get to talk to the media very often. A little surprised that he was on a radio show, and he wasn't shy, as I said, Rodney. He made some comments regarding the season-ending loss to Ohio State at the Sugar Bowl and their quarterback, Cardale Jones. Smart said that three of the Alabama senior safeties, Landon Collins, Jarrett Williams, and Nick Perry, didn't respect the Buckeye signal caller and his ability to hurt them, especially with his legs. And at the time, he was making just his second career start. Jones threw for 243 yards and ran for another 64. And Alabama certainly respects him now, that's for sure. Either way, we don't know what Smart's defense will look like completely in 2015, but we are expecting it to be really, really good, Rodney.
Yeah, I think so. When you look at it, especially up front, Gary, I think this has a chance to be one of Alabama's best defensive fronts in many, many years. You're talking about A'Shawn Robinson, who you mentioned a while ago, Jaron Reed, DJ Petway, Jonathan Allen. You know, you've got a lot of depth with some guys. I think Delvin Tomlinson's a guy that's really, you know, kind of ready to have that breakout year too. And Josh Frazier, a lot of young players. Then you look at Reggie Ragland at the linebacker spot. I think Reuben Foster's starting to come around. So, you know, Gary, when you look at it defensively up front, they should be really strong. Of course, there are some question marks a little bit about that secondary.
I want to ask you before we move on to Mel Kiper's thoughts on some of these Bama defensive linemen, were you surprised that Smart shared so much with 680 The Fan, not just about Cardale Jones, but also said that Alabama brought in Tom Herman, the former Ohio State offensive coordinator, now the head coach at Houston, and had him break down what he saw at Alabama and was able to attack. I was a little surprised you let out that much information.
Yeah, I really was surprised at that. And again, I don't think it's bad. It's just unusual that you would hear an Alabama assistant coach under Dick Saban kind of share that kind of information. And again, I don't think it's necessarily wrong or bad, but yeah, it was a little bit surprising. But it was also interesting, Gary, to see how they've gone about, evaluating everything that they do defensively and kind of going to a guy like Tom Herman and asking him what he saw from his perspective. And I think certainly that always helps you.
Always trying to learn and get better. All right, we're talking about Alabama's defense, especially on the defensive line. Mel Kiper, the ESPN draft guru, has a lot of love for Alabama's defensive linemen. He released his position-by-position rankings last week. A'Shawn Robinson was the second highest-rated underclassman in terms of defensive line prospects. A'Shawn's heading into his junior season in 2015. Don't be surprised if he turns pro. Also getting mentioned was senior to be Jaron Reed at defensive tackle. Kiper lists him as the second-best senior defensive tackle prospect in the country. Kiper also likes junior defensive end Jonathan Allen as the third-best prospect among junior defensive ends. Rodney, it's never a bad thing to have defensive linemen that are big-time NFL prospects. That's what you're looking for at the college level. And you look at that three. If indeed those are the three starting defensive linemen for Alabama, it's hard to find a better group, in my opinion, anywhere in the country.
Extremely talented. We just talked about them as a group. I think the good thing, if you're an Alabama fan, is they do have some depth, some younger guys that are starting to come up. I mentioned, obviously Dalvin Tomlinson to be a junior. You've got Josh Frazier and some others. But I think that's why it's very important to recruit extremely well on the defensive line this year. Alabama's going to have opportunities for young defensive linemen to come in and contribute early.
Talent and depth on the defensive line. It's a key to a really good football team, I think, in the SEC. Still much more to come on TITV, including a look at a key position battle for 2015 that might have a lot to do with how the Bama quarterbacks perform. Plus, we'll have a ton of basketball news to get to, both new and old Alabama players making headlines. We'll tell you all about it in just a couple of minutes. And coming up, we'll be welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. As always, you see the information right there on your screen on how you can get in touch with us. Call us, email us, or reach out to us on Twitter. We'd love to hear from you. We'll be right back with the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide and has been doing so for about 15 years now. Tider Insider TV will return right after this timeout. Welcome back, everybody, to TITV. It didn't take long for former Alabama guard Levi Randolph to make some noise in the NBA Summer League. He made a start on Saturday for Oklahoma City in his debut. Chipped in 5 points on 1 of 3 shooting, had 3 rebounds, dished out 2 assists, and had a steal in the Thunder's 76-74 win over the Hornets. He came back with 10 points on Monday for the Oklahoma City Summer League team, so maybe he'll make that club. More NBA news with some former Crimson Tide players in just a moment, but first, Alabama's current basketball team. Rodney got a little bit longer and more athletic with the addition of a graduate transfer to the program. New Mexico swingman Arthur Edwards will play for the Tide this year, 6'6", 210, originally from Maryland. He played 38 games for New Mexico the past 2 seasons, averages 3.9 points per game, but good defensive player. You see there, he can get up. Avery Johnson says he feels a big need for the Tide and gives his roster some much-needed experience going forward. Here's a look at notable roster additions since A.J. arrived in T-Town. Look at this. He's been doing some work. Edwards, comes in, but he also has some high school players like Kobe Eubanks and Dazon Ingram that he was responsible for getting in here. Transfers Nick King and Avery Johnson Jr., whose signing was made official this week, will both have to sit out a year before being eligible. Remember, 2 signees under Anthony Grant as well. So this Alabama roster may not be as devoid of talent this coming season as some previously thought. Rodney, good additions to the program, so it should be interesting to see what kind of team Alabama rolls out in Avery Johnson's first year. A couple of moves by former Crimson Tide hoop stars. Gerald Wallace is going to play for the NBA champs. The Childersburg native was part of a trade between the Celtics and Warriors, which sends him to Golden State in exchange for David Lee. It's Wallace's 7th NBA team as he heads into his 15th season. Seems just like yesterday he was coming out of Childersburg High School in 2000, doesn't it, Rod?
It really does. I mean, as the state's #1 player, one of the top players in the country, and stayed here 1 year, and look what he's done.
15 years. Mo Williams is heading back to Cleveland to play with his buddy LeBron James. Williams signed a 2-year, $4.3 million deal with the Cavs to back up Kyrie Irving. He spent last season with the Hornets and Timberwolves, still averaged 14 points a game, He was an all-star with the Cavs back in 2009. He's been around the block a few times, but still has a lot of gas in the tank. Lots of basketball news, but we are only 6 days away from the beginning of SEC football media days in Hoover, which means we can start talking about fall camp. We do that by discussing some camp battles. Tonight, Rodney, will start with the offensive line, where we should see some real battles occur in some key spots on that offensive front. Talk about how you see that position shaping up.
Well, I think when you look at it right now, Gary, obviously I think Dominic Jackson is looking pretty strong at right tackle. You have the two guys coming back, Cam Robinson, left tackle, and the center, Ryan Kelly. Now, at left guard, I think Ross Pierschbacher, the redshirt freshman, I'm not going to say he's sewn that job up because he certainly hasn't. You have to go through camp. Shank Taylor's played both of those guard spots, so he's going to compete there and at right guard with Bradley Bozeman. But, I think that group right there is certainly going to those will probably be your main guys. Obviously, they have some younger, talented players. J.C. Hassenauer is a guy that I really think is going to be a fantastic center as we move along. Josh Casher's still around, and Brandon Green had moved back to left tackle in the spring. So, he's a guy that can provide depth. You've got a lot of freshmen coming in. So I think it's going to be, as we move along with the last few recruiting classes that Alabama's had, this is really going to be a competitive group.
There's a look at what could shape up as the starting offensive line as we head into fall camp. Rodney, we don't know who the quarterback is going to be, but regardless of who it is, if you don't get good play up front, a lot of times it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's very important that this offensive line develop, Gary, and I think they will. I think they've got a chance to be outstanding this year as they kind of move along, and if they can do that, kind of get that running game going with Kenyon Drake and Derrick Henry and possibly Damian Harris, the young freshman. I think that certainly would take a lot of pressure off of whoever the quarterback is because they're going to be inexperienced.
All right, our position battles will continue as we get closer and closer to fall camp here on TITV. We've got more coming up on the program. When we return, we'll check out a big honor for a former Crimson Tide linebacker in his hometown. And next, we'll be welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Again, you can call us 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. Email us at TITV@WVUA23.com or reach out to us on social media using the hashtag TiderInsiderTV. We'll be right back. Stay with us. I don't know how you feel about it, Rodney, but I'm still waiting on Rodney Orr Drive down there in South Tuscaloosa. But it's never a bad day when they name a street after you. Former Crimson Tide linebacker and current Super Bowl champion for the New England Patriots, Dante Hightower returned to his hometown of Lewisburg, Tennessee this past weekend. The town named a street after Dante. He also was able to donate football equipment to the local youth football league. Hometown boy makes good. Dante Hightower Parkway. Has a ring to it, doesn't it?
It really does.
All right, I like it. And like I said, Rodney Orr.
Yeah.
Rodney Orr Way, Rodney Orr Boulevard.
Don't hold your breath.
It's coming soon. It's coming soon.
Right.
All right, time to head to the phone lines now for the first time tonight. And we've got CB, our buddy right here in T-Town. CB, what's happening, fella?
Everything's shaking, buddy. Everything's shaking. It's getting a little hot weather. Look, our secondary been a little shaky in the last few years, as we all know. Isn't the pass rush going to be the big key? If not, won't our defense be in trouble, sir?
Well, and I'm going to let Rodney really answer this question. But, yeah, right off the bat, I don't care how good you are on the back end. If a quarterback has time in this day and age, they'll find somebody to throw to. So it's a combination, Rodney, always between good secondary play and putting some heat on the quarterback, making him uncomfortable.
Yeah, an improved pass rush certainly helps. And I think when you look at it, I really believe Alabama has a chance to have their best pass rush in a while. They've got some really good edge rushers. You talk about Tim Williams, Rashawn Evans. I think DJ Petway is going to really have a big year at defensive end. I think one guy to really keep an eye on, CB, redshirt freshman Christian Miller. I think he's got a chance to have a really outstanding year. He's a tremendous pass rushing prospect. So, I think they're going to get some more heat on the quarterback, and that always helps. When he doesn't have enough time to find his receivers, it makes it very difficult.
Thank you, CB. Let's go to Panorama, and that only means one thing. Plato is with us. What's up, Plato?
Hey, good evening. I was hoping one of you guys could give us a little bit of a thumbnail sketch on our new basketball signees for this year.
Well, I think it's a really good class. We mentioned Dazon Ingram earlier, athletic point guard out of Theodore, can take you off the dribble, can shoot outside decently, can run a team. I'm trying to run them all down in my head now. I don't have them written down. Kobe Eubanks, just added lately, is another one of these talented swing guys, very athletic. Dante Hall in the early signing period under Anthony Grant out of Luverne, about 6'9", 6'10", shot blocker. A little bit, I guess, like Jimmy Taylor in the sense that he's going to have to develop his offense, but probably has a little better shot than Jimmy. And one other early signee. Brandon Austin from Carver, Montgomery, played for former Alabama player James J.J. Jackson. Thank you, Rodney. I watched him in the state tournament. Hard-nosed player, can run the floor, about 6'5", decent outside shot. And those are the guys that will be eligible to play right away, along with the transfer who we mentioned earlier. So I think it's a good class under the circumstances. I think it's a great class when you merge in two coaching staffs. And Rodney, as I said, it's going to be a fun team to watch, I think. How many games will they win? I have no idea. But I think it's going to be an interesting athletic basketball team, and that's what Alabama has prided itself on throughout its history.
And I think the guys that you're talking about, this recruiting class brings a lot of athleticism. And you know, again, when you're talking about a recruiting class at the time when he got in, I think you probably could not have asked for any better than what he has done. Because, I mean, he really didn't have much time to get acclimated, Gary. Just had to put the class together, and he did an outstanding job.
And, of course, two players, as we mentioned earlier, sitting out will be available next season as well. So a big-time first-year recruiting job by Avery Johnson. All right, let's stay here in Tuscaloosa and talk to Joseph. What up, partner?
Hey, I was on home as hey, when's the expand they come be? I ain't heard many people talk about it.
Joseph, you do this to us every year, brother. Listen to me.
I'm gonna do this every year.
We won't get fan day information until the practice schedule is released, and that's going to be later this summer. But I promise you, whenever we get that email, hot off the presses, you'll be the first to know, and we'll put it out here on Tider Insider TV.
It's always usually the first Sunday after practice starts, Joseph. It's going to probably start a little bit later this year because Alabama's season starts a week later on September the 5th.
Don't have an exact date, but when we get it, we'll pass it along. Well, much more to come here on TITV, including two former Bama players making headlines in the major leagues. Find out why when we return. And coming up, more of your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Again, you can get in touch with us. Use the information there on your screen. Go ahead and give us a call right now because phone lines are open, and we'll be right back with Tider Insider Television right after this. Former Bama baseballer Alex Avila has been a catcher really his whole major league career, but he's still catching balls just from a different position. First start at first base for the Tigers. Watch this, Rod.
Wow.
Whoa, that was on the SportsCenter Top 10. That's the advantage, though, of being a catcher. You're used to going up against the backstop and reaching out and grabbing those balls. Good play right there by Alex Avila. And former Bama player Taylor Dugas is joining Avila in the big show. He got a call up from the New York Yankees last week. He struggled at the plate this year in the minor leagues, but the Yankees like his athleticism in center field and, going to have a chance to carve out a major league career for himself, hopefully with the Yankees, if not maybe another club. Wasn't that long ago he was patrolling center field for Alabama.
You know he looks like, just at the plate, Lenny Dykstra.
Well, that would be good if he could.
Yeah. I'm not saying he's Lenny Dykstra, but he sure looks like him.
It'd be good if he could simulate that career. He was a good one. All right, Rodney, we have phone lines open right now. If you want to call, you can get in 205-348-WVUA. In the meantime, we've got an email question that we're going to get to here on the program, and this is from Chris in Tuscaloosa. How long will it take Avery Johnson to return Alabama to prominence? Wow. Rod, I don't know. I mean, I understand the question. People want to know what we think. They have not been very successful the last 7 or 8 years, even going back to Coach Godfrey's last couple of years, only one NCAA tournament appearance in 6 years for Anthony Grant. Could they make the tournament this year? If things fall right, I think potentially it's there. I'm not counting on it. My guess is probably his third year, we really should see a team that's going to look a lot like an Avery Johnson team is going to look.
I don't know what the definition of prominence is, what their definition. Are you talking about?
Probably getting an NCAA tournament and making a run to the Sweet 16 would be my guess.
If that's it, then I think you're probably right. He certainly needs time to get his guys in there and get everybody acclimated to his system. But, Gary, you never know. You get a couple of really difference-maker players in basketball, you can really make a lot of advancement in a hurry.
Well, one thing, as we talked about earlier, he is going to get out and go after players. He's going to get the talent level up here in a hurry, and I think they're going to be exciting to watch even in this first year. All right, phone lines are open. Give us a call, 205-348-9882. In the meantime, another email to pass along. Joe in Center Point, is this the golden age of Alabama sports? Rodney, I've had a number of people ask me about that. out in public when I run into folks, and they'll say, man, is this as good as it gets? And you could make that argument. I think we've talked about it on the show before. When you look at the success in softball, both golf programs winning national championships, gymnastics winning national championships recently, football, you know, it goes on. And other sports that are on the rise, volleyball being one. So I think that it is pretty good right now for the Alabama sports fan, not just the football fan, but year-round and calendar sports here at Alabama. A lot of good programs, a lot of good coaches.
Yeah, I think you summarized it really well, and I think you're right. Now, you know, the 70s was pretty good too. Alabama had one of the better basketball programs in the country. There for a 5-year stretch, they won as many games as almost any team in the country, and C.M. Newton really had that team going well, and we know what Coach Bryant did on the football field. So, you know, they were very successful back then. But I would have to say, yeah, this is certainly an age where it's pretty good.
All right, let's squeeze in a phone call. Rick in Bluff Park. We got to go fast. Rick, what's up, man?
No problem, fellas. Roll Tide.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about Mel Tucker and what he should bring to the table.
Oh, wow.
Hang up and listen.
Yeah,
Thank you for
Rick.
taking my call.
Really excited about Mel Tucker. I mean, you're talking about a guy that just last year was an NFL defensive coordinator with the Chicago Bears, has a relationship with Nick Saban. I think he's going to infuse this defense with some new ideas, some new energy, some pro concepts. I think he's going to be a great addition, Rod.
Yeah, I really do, too. I think the players really like him. I think he's going to do an outstanding job, not only as a coach, but I think he's going to do a tremendous job as a recruiter. He is really known well out there. Gary has a lot of contacts, so I think Mel Tucker is a great addition to this coaching staff.
Hey, as always, thanks for the phone calls. Thanks for the emails. We appreciate it. We'll be back to wrap up this edition of Tider Insider TV from Tuscaloosa right after this commercial break. You know, I love Orlando McClain as a football player, and the times I've interviewed him. I think he's a good guy, but he just can't get out of his own way. Once again, suspended. First 4 games of the NFL season. He'll have to sit it out as the Cowboys get their season going. He was found in violation of the league's substance abuse policy last week. He issued a statement apologizing to the Dallas organization, his teammates, and fans. Says he looks forward to returning to the team in Week 5 against the Patriots. Said it won't happen again, but we've heard that before. Hopefully it won't. One of these days, going to run out of chances.
Yeah.
Got to get it right and keep it right. All right, that is going to do it for the program for tonight. A reminder that if you missed the show, you're just tuning in, or you want to watch it again, we'll have a replay tonight at 10:30, and also you can find it on our website tonight. BJ will put it up, WVUA23.com. So for Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. This has been Tider Insider Television. Have a good night, everyone.